Hello everyone, welcome to the lecture series on object-oriented programming using C++. I am Mrs. Gitanjali Mahamunkar, lecturer and research scholar at Department of Computer Engineering, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Technological University, Lonere. This is the fifth lecture in this lecture series titled Operators in C++, in which I will be covering basic operators in C++ along with the special ones and also manipulators and typecast operator. If you haven't watched the previous lectures, please do visit my channel at Learn with GSM and subscribe to my channel, hit the bell icon to get notifications and updates of the lectures and videos that I upload time to time. The books that I have referred for this lecture series are Object Oriented Programming with C++ by E. Balagurusamy and Robert LaForce, Object Oriented Programming in C++. I will also be using an online compiler for implementing the programs that I might be writing during this lecture series. If you are watching this on mobile, please make sure you also have a laptop with internet connection to implement the programs along with me, and the knowledge of C is preferred but not necessary. So, to start with the basic operators in C++, there are the regular, these are the regular operators that you are well acquainted with, like the arithmetic operators, unary and binary operators. Okay, unary arithmetic operators that needs only one operands, and binary are the ones which has two operands. Okay, so here you have the negative and positive signs for signed integers, increment decrement operators to increase the value of an operand by 1 or decrease the value of an operand by 1. Then you also have the binary operators, arithmetic operators, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division and modulo division. To find the remainder of an integer division, modulus is used. I hope others are quite simple. Then relational operators are generally the ones which are used to compare the relationship between the values with each other. That is, the symbols that are used are less than, this is used for less than, greater than, less than, equal to, greater than, equal to. Then for equality you have double equal to, and for non-equality or inequality you have not equal to, exclamation followed by equal to. Then the third one is category is logical operators. Here again you have unary and binary kind. Unary is the logical not, and binary is the logical and logical or, represented by double ampersand and double vertical lines respectively. The fourth one is conditional operator. It is a kind of ternary operator which is question mark followed by a colon. Here let me explain this. Okay, now if I this question mark followed by colon, if you are not aware of this operator, let me explain. It represents if x then y else z kind of statement. Means when you have three operands x, y and z, then you can say you evaluate the expression x, okay, and if it results into true, then you will take the output as y, else the output will be z. This is something how conditional operator is used. It is a ternary operator because it uses three operands. Then assignment operator, it is again a binary kind of operator because it takes two operands equal to, when we assign a value of the right hand side to the left hand side. X equal to y means we are assigning value of y to x. Then you have plus equal to, minus equal to, multiplication equal to, division equal to and modular division equal to, which is done in this way. Suppose you have x plus equal to 2, then by this you mean you are doing x equal to x plus 2. Okay. Similarly, x minus equal to 2 means x equal to x minus 2, and x into equal to 2 will be x equal to x into 2, and x minus divide equal to 2 will obviously mean x equal to x divided by 2, and so on. So this is how you actually deal with the assignment operators. Then you have the bitwise unary and binary operators such as the complement operator, the shift left operator, shift right operators, which are used in this way. Like if you use a complement operator, which is a tilde symbol in this way, then if you write this, take for example, it is a unary operator in which it is used to negate each bit of a binary number. Suppose you have a binary number of this sort, and if you use a complement operator or not operator before this, it will result into 1110. In this way, it complements each bit of this binary number and gives you this result. Then you have the shift left operator, which is this. It is again a unary operator. When you apply this to a binary number of suppose this type, then and if you ask it to shift by one bit, then it will give you a result in this way: 0 0 1 0 1 1 1 0. Here you have shifted each bit to the left and got this number. Exactly opposite happens when you shift this. When you use a shift right operator, it will shift the bits to the right and will give you this result. What it will do is it will shift each bit to the right, so this will be gone and its place will be taken by this one, its place will be taken by this one, its place will be taken by this 0, and in this way each one will be shifted to the right and replacing this 0 by another 0. Okay, so this is the result of the shift right operator. So these are how bitwise unary operators are used. You have bitwise binary operators, which are ampersand, which stands for logical AND operation at bit level. Then you have a vertical bar, this is a vertical line which represents a logical OR operation at bit level, and this cap symbol, which is used to perform logical exclusive OR operation at the bit level. Okay. Then you have other operators, unary operator size of, which returns size of variable. Okay, like suppose if you use this in this way, size of x, then and if earlier you had declared x to be an integer variable, then size of x will give you 2 bytes as a result, because it will tell you the size or amount of memory it occupies. So it is 2 bytes. Okay, so this is the use of size of operator in C++. Then it is a unary operator because it needs just one operand. Then you have a comma operator, which is a binary operator, which is used in this way. Suppose if you have declared int I equal to suppose 2 comma 8, then what will happen is it will assign the left value first to I, but discard that value, and then will assign the right side value to I and will return that value. So here I will become equal to 8 and not 2. Okay, so this is how comma acts as a binary operator. Okay, it takes 2 as well as 8 as operands, but will discard the first value and will keep the second value and will use the second value. Okay, so this is how comma operator is used. Then there are some special C++ operator apart from the basic operators. It introduces some new operators, and we have already seen the insertion as well as extraction operators in the earlier lectures. If you haven't seen that, please visit my channel and watch the earlier lectures. Okay, and then the second type is scope resolution operator, which is represented by two colons, okay, followed by each other. We are going to talk about this in detail, more detail. Then pointer to member declarator, pointer to member operator, again a pointer to member operator. These are actually, what are these? We'll see later. Then this is memory release operator, that is the delete operator, memory allocation operator, that is new operator. These are memory management operators actually. Then you have line feed operator and filled width operator, set W. Now out of these three, pointer to member declarator and pointer to member operators, these are member dereferencing operator. Here the first one, that is a colon followed by a colon and followed by asterisk, is used to declare a pointer to a member of a class, okay, whereas this pointer to member operator dash followed by a greater than sign, which represents an arrow, followed by asterisk, is used to access a member using a pointer to the object and a pointer to that member. And then pointer to member operator dot followed by asterisk is used to access a member using object name and a pointer to that member. So we will understand this in detail when we will be using it in our future lectures, okay. So member dereferencing operators, we'll keep it aside as of now. Then the next one is the memory management operators, which are new and delete. We'll talk about this in detail further. Then we have manipulators, line feed operator and endl and set W, which also we'll see in this lecture. Now scope resolution operator, it is basically as you all know, C++ is a block structured language, and blocks and scopes can be used in constructing programs, right. Now we know that same variable name can be used to have different meanings in different blocks, though they cannot be used in the same scope. We can use same variable name in different scopes and blocks. Now scope of the variable extends from the point of its declaration till the end of the block containing the declaration, right. So a variable declared inside a block is said to be local to that block, okay. So what happens is, when you have, suppose block 2 contained in block 1, then a declaration in an inner block hides a declaration of the same variable in an outer block. Therefore each declaration of x, suppose you have a variable x in an outer block as well as in an inner block, then declaration of x causes it to refer to a different data object. Within the inner block, the variable x will refer to the data object declared therein, and the global version of variable cannot be accessed from within the inner blocks. So to uncover a hidden variable, we use the scope resolution operator, and syntax for it is a double colon followed by the variable name. This operator allows access to the global version of the variable. So colon x will always refer to the global value of x, and a major application of the scope resolution operator is in the classes to identify the class to which a member function belongs. Now I'll show you an example here. See, we have declared m globally over here as 10. We also have m in this program which has been assigned as 20 within this scope, okay. Again you have an inner block over here where you have declared m to be 30. Now when you assign m value to k over here, we already have defined or initialized m twice. Here once as 10, the other time as 20. Again after this statement you assign the value of m to be 30. Now here the question is, when we are in the inner block, what would be the value of k, what would be the value of m, and what would result in colon m. Now as I had said, colon m will always give you the global value of m. So here this makes the picture clear that colon m is going to give you the value 10. But when you are in outer block, what would be the value of m over here and what would be the value of m over here? So let us run this program and see the output that we get. So the value of k, what do you think will be the value of k when it has been assigned m? Whether it would be 20 or whether it would be 10, which has been declared earlier here. What do you think? Because k has been assigned m after it was declared 10 as well as 20, the output over here will get in short time. But see, if you want to see it is 20, why has it happened? Because you are not referring it using the scope resolution operator. When you use it using scope resolution operator, see, you will get the value as 10. Here you get it as 30 because this 30 overrides the value 20 and makes this m as 30. But because this k has been assigned m before it was assigned 30, that is 20, so k becomes 20, m becomes 30, and this colon m becomes 10 over here. Okay, and when we are in the outer block, m is referred to by the value 20 because this 30 is only local to the inner block. Okay, in the outer block it is still 20. So this m is 20 and this colon m is 10. Okay, so see, here in the outer block you get m as 20 and colon m as 10. Okay, so this is how scope resolution operator can be used. Now next is memory management operators, in which you have dynamic allocation techniques. Now memory management, see, in C you have C language, you have malloc and calloc functions to allocate memory dynamically at runtime. Okay, and it also uses function free to free dynamically the allocated memory. But in case of C++, we use new and delete operators to perform the task of allocating and freeing the memory in a better and easier way. These are unary operators. Since these operators manipulate memory on free store, they are also known as free store operators. Now object can be created by using new operator and destroyed by using delete operator as and when required. So if you want to see this thing, what is the syntax of declaring a variable using creating an object using a new operator, it is like you have a pointer variable and then you use the new operator followed by the data type. Okay, so this creates an object of this data type, okay, using the new operator, and this pointer variable is of type data type. Okay, and it allocates sufficient memory to hold a data object of that type, data type, and returns the address of the object. Then you have pointer, like suppose if you want to initialize the memory using the new operator, then here you just have to add value along with the data type. Here it will automatically initialize it to that particular value along with that of that data type. Again, if you want to suppose declare an array, okay, memory space, new can be used to create memory space for any data type, including user defined data types such as array, structures and classes. So if you want to suppose create a one dimensional array, then all you have to do is you have to use a pointer variable as equal to new data type, and instead of the value, because you want to indicate that this is an array, you will mention the size of the array over here. The size specifies the number of elements in the array. Okay, and it will create a memory space for an array of that size. Okay, integer array of that size. Suppose if you declare this to be an integer, then it will create an array of whatever is the size, that those many size of integers. Okay, so I have if suppose you want me to demonstrate the use of new and delete operators, I can show you in this way. Suppose, see over here, I've created an array, a pointer array, okay, and if you have a of size, suppose whatever size you want, you can ask the user, enter the size of the integer array, then the user will give you some size, then you can create array of that size dynamically using the new operator, as ar is equal to new int and whatever is the size. So this is the pointer variable name, here I have declared it, then the new operator, keyword new, then the data type followed by the size in square brackets, and here size you have taken from the user, right. This will dynamically allocate memory for an array, okay, and after you use that array, suppose you perform certain operations after this statement on that array, you can delete that array and thus release the memory space that has been occupied by this array. So the new operator and the delete operator helps us to allocate memory as well as free the memory allocated to a particular variable or say a object, okay, in the program. So here I had given earlier the size to be 5 over here. So when it asks for the size of the integer array, I had written there over there 5, and it created a array of size 5 and given this output as dynamic allocation of memory for arrays successful. Okay, so this is how you can use a new operator and the delete operator. In case of delete operator, you just have to use the keyword delete followed by the pointer variable name. It will delete the memory that has been allocated to that pointer variable. Okay, now the next topic is see, this new operator has got certain advantages over the malloc function used in C. First thing is it automatically computes the size of the data object, so we need not use the operator size of to allocate memory, like we need not bother of how much what is the size of the data object. To calculate the size, you need not use the size of operator. Then second advantage is no need to use typecast operator, okay, because it automatically returns the correct pointer type when you actually use the new operator. And then third is initialization of object is done while creation of memory space. As I told you, we can initialize it by passing the value in parenthesis when you actually create that object. Then you have overloading of new and delete operators is possible, like any other operator, they can be overloaded. Now what is operator overloading, we'll see further, but it is a kind of polymorphism. Now what is polymorphism? For this again you have to refer to my previous lectures. Then manipulators. Manipulators are basically operators that are used to form the data display, to format the data display. It is the most commonly used are endl and setw. Endl manipulator, it is when we use this in output statement, it causes a line feed to be inserted. That is, it has the same effect as the \n character, the new line character, which we had studied in the earlier lectures. And setw, it is to specify a common field width for all the numbers and force them to be printed right justified. So to better understand this, we can again take an example. Okay, here I have used this program in which you need this IO manip for the setw operator and endl operators. These IO manip is the input output manipulation header file. Okay, so when we are using setw or endl operator, we need to use this in our program. Then suppose I use these three variables, basic, allowance and total, and I have initialized them over here while actually declaring them. Then now what I am doing is I am using a setw manipulator, which actually gives me set the width of the output field to be 10. Now when I write basic, then again set w 10 and I output the value of it, that is 950, what will happen is the width of the output will be taken as 10 characters. Okay. Now see here, allowance is what, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 characters. Okay, so actually there would be 10 character field, and what is does is it starts filling the field from the right hand side, so it is right justified, and hence it is aligned in this way. And then again for numbers, it has put it as to be set the width as 10 characters, and hence when it fills in the numbers, it again fills the digit from right to left. So you can see they are right justified. Okay, the units place come at this place, this point below 0 5 5, the tens place over here, hundreds place over here, thousand place, and so on. So that looks it a bit formatted, right? So we use these for formatting purpose. This and endl is actually used to take the cursor to the next line. So what it does is the same task as the \n character and fits the line into the output. Okay, and whatever, like when you press an enter, you go to the new line, right? The same effect this endl character or manipulator has. Okay, so if you want to see the output, you have already actually seen it over here. I had shown it to you. So what it does is it will print it in a proper formatted manner to get it so the output looks good, nothing else. Okay, so next is the typecast operator. It is basically used for explicit conversion of variables and expressions. Okay, so C++ permits explicit type conversion of variables or expressions using the typecast operator. This thing, what do you say, syntax for this is type name, whatever is the type name, followed by the expression in the parenthesis. Okay, so if I want to convert a particular expression or a variable to a particular type, I'll have to use this syntax. So I'll show you again the program related to this if you want. See here, I have two variables, int_var and float_var, of type integer and float respectively. Okay, I have assigned some values to them initially. Now when I try to display them, I'll get int_var to be 25 and float_var to be 35.87. Now if I want to convert int_var, this variable, to float, and float_var, this variable, to int, I'll use the syntax or typecast operator as whatever is the type name, followed by the variable name in parenthesis here. What I'll get as output is the same. Okay, so I'll show you the output for this. What will happen is this int_var first will be displayed as 25, float_var will be displayed as 35.87, but when I convert this int_var to float, I'll get it as 25, actually it should be 25.0, but here they have truncated the decimal point part, and 35.87 is again truncated and given as in the form of integer. So this is actually notified. If this would have been say 25 point something, then you would have seen the conversion like something. Okay, so this is how you get the output. You can use this in expressions also, in converting expressions, like suppose you have you have to calculate some average, and then in that case you use sum of something divided by total number of whatever. So you can convert it into float and then perform the operation. So a type name behaves as if it is a function for converting values to a designated type, and the function call notation usually leads to simplest expression. So however, it can be used only if the type is an identifier. Okay, so this is how typecast operator can be used for explicit conversion of variables or expressions. Okay, so we have in this lecture we have seen basic operators, special operators such as scope resolution operator, memory management operators, manipulators and typecast operators. So all you have to do is in this assignment you have to do you just have to list out the 5 special operators of C++ apart from the basic operators and state the advantages of new operator over the malloc function. If you have liked this video, don't forget to press the thumbs up and comment and share this video with your friends. Do subscribe to my channel for more such videos. Thank you.